Hey, my name is Jared Moon, and I'm part of a group of underground athletes you've probably never even heard of before. We don't rely on fancy equipment for training, and most of us don't even have gym memberships. In fact, our motivation comes from within. You see, we have jobs, families, and responsibilities, but we still have big goals, and they aren't getting achieved at a global gym. For that reason, we have to do things differently. Our training has to be smarter. We don't have every piece of equipment known to man or a ton of time to train, and we don't need it, because we are achieving amazing things without it. So how do we do it? If you ask your average personal trainer or gym goer, they'd call us crazy. Yet we're seeing results better than most every single day. And it's happening by blending mental training with physical training and becoming an athlete. What we call and welcome to Garage Gym Athlete.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. My name is Jared Moon. With me is Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey, happy Friday.
And it's Steve Konsdorf. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey, you said that right.
Hey, I nailed it. All right, man. So I appreciate you taking the time to do the Garage Gym Athlete podcast with us, kind of talk about some of your experiences. But I'm going to hand it over to you right here at the beginning. If you could kind of give us, intro, who you are, what you do, and how you train.
Yeah. Like I said, my name is Steve Konsdorf. I live in Michigan, and I do have a garage gym. It's more of a pole barn gym. It's out in my pole barn. A little bit better than actually it sounds. It's not a traditional farm barn, but it is insulated somewhat. But it is outside. And so you can imagine in winter in Michigan, that can get pretty cold out there. But I stick to it. I've been doing it for 4 years in the gym. My wife and I, we lived in a small little city for a while, and I worked down in a local gym there. Then we moved out to the country. And once we moved out to the country, we decided that I'd go ahead and invest into a garage gym, and was able to do that, and gave up my gym membership and just work from my house now.
That's awesome, man. So I have to ask, anytime, the more interviews we do, the more I realize how many garage gym athletes are in colder climates. If I had to guess, I would, and I never looked at this stat, I would think that most of them are in the lower half of the United States. But Michigan, man, what are we talking? How cold does it get up there?
Well, I used to have a temperature gauge in the barn. Got rid of it this past year because it was more depressing than anything else.
You're like, that's not good for anyone.
But the coldest I've worked out in was, I think it was 18, 19 degrees in the barn.
Wow.
Oh, man.
So you're talking layers, hat, gloves, everything.
Start a bonfire.
I only did that a couple times. And did that a couple times. And after that, I was like, it gets down below 20. I'm just not going to do it. I'll figure out a different way to work out.
Do some
it just wasn't worth it. Yeah, so about 22 degrees is usually my limit. If it gets below that, I'm probably not going to be out there.
And so is the secret, I always have to ask this too, is the secret just layering up? Is that what you do, or you layer up and deal with it? Or do you have any sort of heating element that helps out? Or?
Well, I did get a heating lamp this year, so I'm excited about that.
Okay.
And
just
we
a
did
lamp
this
for
past
a barn?
year. Yeah.
Do you strap it onto you and have it on top?
I move it around, I point it in each direction that I'm going to be at, and it just kind of shoots out heat.
Is it connected to propane? Is it one of those?
No, actually, I'm using electric for it.
Okay.
So it takes a minute to heat up, but once it does, it's pretty good. And then we actually redesigned the barn this past year and put a little bit more insulation in, which has made a big difference. So that's helped. So I'm hoping this winter won't be as bad as it has in the past.
Awesome, man. Well, barn setup sounds awesome. So what do you actually have in your barn gym?
Well, I have a squat rack.
Okay.
I have a squat rack, 2 Olympic bars. I have a bench, 500 pounds of plates. I have 3 kettlebells and some battle ropes and a punching bag.
Awesome, man. Getting it done.
Yeah, no, and I got all of that basically for under $500.
You doing Craigslist
that
shopping?
Was a big win for me. I started there, but then I just started talking to some friends, and I had a friend in Indianapolis who was moving out to North Dakota
Ooh.
and didn't want to ship their equipment. So I drove down to Indianapolis and bought it all. And then I have a buddy here locally who outgrew his squat rack. Big, massive dude, just strong as heck. And he, instead of investing in more equipment for his home, he went into a gym. And so he sold me everything he had in his basement. So between those two, I got pretty much everything I needed for the gym.
That's awesome, man. That's actually the best place. People kind of either gave up on it or have some reason why they can't do it anymore, because it's hard to. It's not hard to sell the stuff. It's getting easier, but like most of the time, people don't want to like haul it off. So you'll find these deals.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the same thing. You can find some great deals on Craigslist or just looking around in your community. There's people out there that are willing to sell their stuff for a variety of reasons. But, I mean, my squat rack is pretty basic. I hope, in the future I can like upgrade it to a little bit more advanced one. But for the price, it's right, and I'm going to stick with it for a while.
That's awesome, man. And so what was the main motivating factor? You mentioned moving out to the country, but what was the main motivation for starting a garage gym?
Well, I think it really relates to my own fitness journey. About 10 years ago, I found myself sitting right around 275 is when I actually stopped weighing myself. So I think I got up a little bit higher than that. My second daughter was born, and I made a decision at that time, like, I just got to do something different. It's not working. I want to be healthy for them. I want to live not only a long life, but I want to live a quality life. So I started down a fitness journey, really got into running a lot. I did a lot of running. And I would say in hindsight, I wished I had more balance back then, because I did lose a whole bunch of weight, but I hate running. I'm not built for running. I've never liked running. So I was just forcing myself to do it day after day. About 4 years ago, I got into weights and joined a gym and really kind of swung the pendulum back to strength, almost too much. Mm-hmm. That was about 6 years ago. And then 4 years ago is when we moved out to the country, when I did the garage gym. And so instead of driving into the city, and I be honest, the city's not too far from where I'm at, but it still would take, a good amount of time to drive there, work out, and drive back. And now that's time away from family.
Right.
With the garage gym, I can get up in the morning, hit the gym, get that out of the way, and come back. Still make breakfast for my kids, see them off of school, and be here around at night when they get home. So I think a balance between just looking for a good focus on strength and fitness, and then having time for the family. Those are the two really focuses of my garage gym.
That's awesome, man. So you've been a garage gym athlete for about 4 years now, in the sense of just training at home. So what are some of the, let's say, accomplishments or results you've seen in training alone?
I definitely have. The one thing is I've kept off all the weight that I originally put on. So the weight that I took off 10 years ago hasn't come back.
Congrats
so
on
I feel
that,
pretty
man.
good about that. Oh, thanks. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've maintained a good weight, but I've gotten strong. Like I'm not the strongest guy, but I feel good about where I'm at with my strength. Especially, I'm 44. So the fact that I don't have aches and pains, but I'm still squatting, squatting a decent amount, benching a good amount, deadlifting a good amount. At 44 and not really having a huge history of strength training, I feel pretty good about it. Like I said, there's no aches and pains. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was swung too far away from my cardio.
Yeah.
And really just focused on strength. And really the last 6 weeks, actually, big shout out to you two. I mean, this last 6 weeks I've been working with you guys on your program with Garage Gym Athlete. And really my capacity has increased. I didn't even realize how bad it was until I took that first EO3 fitness test to get started. And at that time I was like, yeah, that wasn't too bad. And then actually I just took the second time this morning and increased it significantly. And it helped me realize, like, having those benchmarks helped me realize like how far I had swung to pure strength versus overall fitness. So that's, the advantage of being a garage gym athlete is, if you're programming for yourself, which I had been doing for a long time, the programming wasn't bad, but I didn't have anyone really kind of guiding me or kind of showing me like where I was lacking. And then you get lazy. You start doing the stuff you like doing. I like doing overhead presses. I got really good at overhead presses, but not that great at my deadlift.
Right.
So I wouldn't program my deadlift as much as I probably should have. But having, kind of gotten to the point where I sought out a coach and started a program with you all, having that balance of like, oh, hey, I do actually need to go for a run every now and then, or sprints, add those in, just to increase my capacity, just to have an impact on my overall fitness.
Yeah, it's human nature, right? I was just talking to another athlete yesterday, and he's been a garage gym athlete probably about the same timeline that you had, and he'd always been programming for himself. And he was just like, he got into this bad track, and he was kind of starting to realize it, but he's only programming things that he enjoyed, which were like short duration, like conditioning workouts and like a lot of strength work. And he said it's fine for a little while, but if you go on for like 2 or 3 years down this path, you end up with these huge gaping holes in your overall fitness if being well-rounded is what you're looking to accomplish. And I think that sometimes we might not even realize it. We're like, if you're only measuring yourself up to your own standard of programming, you're like, hey, I'm doing a really good job in the workouts that I am programming. But there's this whole other world that you could be missing out on. So how do you...
I would say that's...
Go ahead.
Exactly the trap I fell into. I mean, I fell into that trap, got comfortable with what I was programming, enjoyed what I was doing, got really good at it, but got really good at those items and not overall fitness.
And so pre-garage gym athlete, you said you were kind of a runner. You did a lot of running?
Yeah.
And
a lot of running.
What was you said you didn't like running, and that's what I wanted to pick up on, because that takes some mental toughness, because you up above 275, lost all this weight, but you never mentioned I enjoyed running, so I just did that. It's like you're like, no, I hated running, and I just made myself do it every day. How big of a part do you find mental toughness, or the mental toughness you gained through that, helping you now, working out in the cold, working out by yourself? Like, how has that helped you develop as an athlete?
Well, yeah, I think it's a huge piece of being a garage gym athlete, especially if you're working out by yourself. Having that mental capacity just to hit it day after day after day, especially when the temperatures start to drop. When I was running, like I said, I didn't like running, so I would look for ways to figure out a way to enjoy it. Excuse me. And one of those ways was I started trail running. So I could feel like I was challenging myself in different capacities, going through the woods, up hills, watching the terrain a little bit more than when you're on the road. So I enjoyed that to some extent. But it was really kind of pushing yourself and always looking at what's the goal of what you're actually doing and keeping that to the forefront. So when I was running, it was all about weight loss. And that was my goal. But what did the weight loss bring? Like, it's great to have a weight loss goal, but why do you want that weight loss goal? And for me, I wanted to lose the weight for my kids. I wanted to focus on being there for them. I want to be able to carry them up the stairs. I want to be able to go out and play around with them, run around with them, and not have them waiting on dad to catch up to them. And then when you just look at, as people age, and how much people are in pain and how much people struggle with day-to-day activities. And, my father had just passed away 2 weeks ago, and the last 7 years of his life have not been the quality that we'd want as we age. And a lot of that was, just life choices that he'd made. And so as I get older and start looking at those choices, I have very specific ideas of where I want to be as I age. And although, weight loss was part of that, it was the end result of that. And so as you start looking at like, why am I working out every day? Why am I going on this run that I don't really like? Why am I working out in 25 degrees weather? It's kind of, you just got to focus on the end results, and they don't come quick. And so knowing like what I do now and what I do today is going to impact me years down the road. It's not an easy equation because you don't get that quick results, but always focusing on where you're going and where you want to be versus where you are right now.
I think that's great, man. You have a gigantic why behind your training, which is that's when I see athletes succeed the most. And obviously you've seen a ton of success in your training over the last, getting closer to a decade now. You've done a phenomenal job having that why for your kids, and the unfortunate passing of your father, but also spurring you to do something different and be different to have a better quality of life. I think that's phenomenal, man. All right, so what is the one? Well, no, I'll go to this one. What's the hardest workout you've ever done?
The hardest workout I ever did was there was a race that I joined. So when I was running, actually it was right about the time that I started transitioning into the gym. So I was doing some running and some gym. There was a race that I joined, and it's called Run Through Hell.
Sounds
and
fun,
it's in
right?
Hell, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously. There's a small little town in Michigan called Hell, Hell. And so, they really play that name up for everything they do. But there's this run called Run Through Hell, and it was a 10K run, which isn't a huge distance, but that is all hills. And so it's up and down. That 10K was, like I said, all hills. It was cross country, it was trail running, and it was dirt roads, and it was pavement, and it kind of hit all those different aspects. And so about 3/4 of the way through that race, I'm already dying because it's like up and down. Then you're transitioning to the woods, then you're transitioning back to a dirt road, then back to a pavement. I tweaked my hamstring. Like I could feel my hamstring kind of. It wasn't a huge injury, but it was there. It was like that hamstring injury that is there, it's bugging you. Really started kind of hobbling me. But it was, that race had been so important to me about accumulating like all of the stuff I had been training for up until then. I wasn't going to stop. Like I had to finish that race. So yeah, I mean, that race through Hell, Michigan, Run Through Hell, that 10K with a pulled hamstring is probably the toughest thing I've ever done. But it's also, when I think about like, even though I hated running, I can look back at that and I smile about it because it was a cool race. There was a lot of great people there, and it meant a lot to me at that time to accomplish that.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on pushing yourself. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. So I'm going to go also, I want to hear a story about I want to know the coolest story you have about your barn gym. And what I mean by coolest is, whatever's cool to you, whether your kid's coming out to play, your hand sticking to the barbell, whatever, something super memorable that sticks out in your mind, maybe a particular training session in your barn.
Yeah, just like a few weeks ago, because you never know what's going to happen or who's going to stop by. It's not like when you're in a gym, everybody's there to work out.
Right.
So just really a few weeks ago, kind of picture this. Both my wife and I work from home. So we both have jobs that allow us to work from home, which is an incredible opportunity for us. So we get a lot of packages delivered to our house. So, we know the UPS guy, we know the FedEx guy, we know the mail lady. And so a few weeks ago, I was in the barn working out. I had the doors open so you could see right in there. We have this long driveway, kind of leads right to our barn. So you can see it as people are pulling up, and I'm in there, and I was walking down the driveway. I have a 70-pound kettlebell that I got a few years ago, and I was just doing some loaded carries with that, carrying it in different positions down the driveway. And then the FedEx guy pulls up. And he's like, well, how much is that? And, I told him it's 70-pound kettlebell, and we got talking, and come to find out that he's heavily into kettlebells, and he's training with a guy here in town with kettlebells. And we ended up spending this guy's supposed to be out delivering packages, and we spend 15 minutes talking about kettlebells. It's a cool experience to be in your gym and having someone just kind of drive by and see it and want to talk about it. Not only did it happen to a FedEx guy, there was actually another FedEx guy, the guy that actually owns the route. Older guy, looks like Santa Claus, has this big white beard, and he was out delivering packages one day, and he ended up talking to me in the gym too. And it turns out he used to train MMA guys before he bought this FedEx route. And so we had this whole discussion about, how to use a weight bag and punching bags and stuff like that, and different opportunities with that. So that was kind of cool. And I think those are kind of the cool stories I have, is just seeing people react to the gym when they see it, whether it is, family members or friends that come over and kind of walk out to the bar and they're like, wow, look at this. It's always a fun conversation.
We just need to get you one of our banners, then you'll really be legit.
Dude, I've been seeing those, and I want them, and I want to figure out a way to get one of those. That's for sure.
It's coming up.
Because I have just like Jared, you have that American flag behind you. I have that on the other side of my squat rack, like that, hanging horizontal like that. And I've had people comment about just seeing that giant flag in our barn too, right by the squat rack. And when those garage gym athlete banners come up, I want a shot at those.
Yeah, man. We'll keep you informed. I can tell you it's not very far away at all. All right, man. Let's. One thing I want to comment on is just because I've had so many different garage gyms over the years, is that probably is one of my favorite parts as well. It's either a neighbor coming in and getting involved who, maybe they're not in the best shape, but they see you out there every night or every morning and they're intrigued, or like you said, family, friends. That is really one of the coolest parts, and because I kind of make it public at first. It's it's a bait to make friends, really. When you move to a new neighborhood, is move all your equipment outside and show people what you're doing. They'll ask you some questions, and as long as it's not too intimidating and stuff, they might join you for a workout or two. That really is one of my favorite parts of being a garage gym athlete.
Yeah, I had my daughter's 5th grade teacher. She's in 8th grade now, but my oldest daughter, her 5th grade teacher lives down the road from us. And when she was in school with her, he was picking her up. We pick up their kids, they pick up our kids, and he would see me working out. And so one day I was just like, hey, you just, I'll work out an hour earlier if you want to come work out with me. And after a year, he was coming to my, work out with me every morning. That was a rough year though, because that, teacher schedule, we had to do it before he'd actually go to school. So that was a little rough. And this year he's got some of his own set up at home, and, sleep wise, it was getting a little tough. So we've kind of taken a break for the winter, and we may come back in the summer and work out again.
Awesome, man. All right, so I'm going to ask you a little bit about mental toughness. We already talked on it a little bit, but I'd like to know, in your opinion, what the best activity for building mental toughness is.
I kind of look at it two different ways. It's, a lot of people focus on trying to get better at something they're not good at. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I like to focus on, okay, what am I good at and what can I get better at? Or even what am I okay at and know I need to get better at? So taking a look at those opportunities and just identifying something you want to progress in and focusing on that and figuring out what the short-term goal is and long-term goal is. And so allowing yourself, like, no matter what comes up, not to make excuses about not working towards that goal. You know, I don't look for excuses on not working out. I don't look for opportunities to get out of a workout. My mental toughness really focuses around scheduling that in there and making sure that is a priority for my life. So I get in there and do it. I may have bad workouts, but I went in there and worked out. And I may have great workouts, but it's because I went in there and worked out. So for me, mental toughness is about, or improving mental toughness is looking for ways to kind of identify a goal and work towards it. And then accepting when you make a mistake. Like I said, not making an excuse for it, but knowing that, like I said, the mental toughness part is getting up and going into the gym every day. The mistake might be I didn't have the best workout, but I still went and worked out, and I can identify where I fell down on that workout and then work to improve it on the next round. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's, there's so much opportunities with growing your own mental toughness and really focusing in on why you want to do it and where you want to go with it.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. Kind of brutal honesty with yourself and owning each and every single situation, no matter what. And then I also loved what you mentioned at the beginning of that response too, which was not necessarily always focusing on your weaknesses, but you're like kind of dialing in on your strengths too and making those better, because that's a huge point. I know I read in I think it's the book The One Thing a while back that they bring up the point about typing. They're like, you don't just get better at things because you do them all the time. Like, or else we would all be these extraordinary, everyone who works on a computer at least, we'd be these extraordinary typists, right? We'd be the fastest typers in the world, and like we could set world records because we all do it each and every single day, but we're not actually practicing to make that strength stronger. We're good at it, but we're not putting in the mental toughness it would take to actually get world class at something. So I love that response too, is like, strengthening your strength. I think that's awesome, man. And there's a lot to that.
Yeah. I believe you get to where you're at in life. A lot of the success someone has in life is because of their strengths. So you can even apply, even in my work life, I've had a great career with one organization for 16 years. I haven't been with that organization because of my weaknesses. I've been with that organization because of my strengths. And so looking at how do I make that even stronger, not only for myself, but more valuable to the organization as I move forward. Everybody can work on some weaknesses.
Yeah.
But that's not what got me to the position I'm in. And so if I can polish where I'm strong at and improve that, what more could I do from there?
That's awesome. Yeah, to be honest, I think working on your weaknesses is overrated.
I agree 100%.
All right, man. If you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Barbell. It would have to be, especially if I could have the plates with it. If I could have the plates with the barbell, I just think you can do so much with the barbell, whether it is, deadlifts, squats, presses. You can turn it into a landmine opportunity where you're doing, one arm or the other arm.
Yeah.
You can do more creative stuff with the barbell. And I think, and maybe it's because that's been my main tool for the last 4 years, and I've had to force myself to get creative with it, or you get bored with it. And so, that's the one piece of equipment. If I had to get rid of everything else, I would keep that barbell and the plates for sure.
Awesome. Joe?
Well, first I would want to say I'm kind of jealous of your barn. I feel like if I had to choose some sort of setting to have a gym at, whether it be basement, garage, open air, I think a barn would be best because, high ceilings, it's just wood. You don't really care if things get a little bit messed up, but the insulation would be a problem. But if you could add one piece of equipment, there's one piece that's on the top of your wish list that you could just have no money involved or whatever, it would just appear, what would it be?
Right now, it would be a about a 52-pound kettlebell.
That's it?
I got a 35 and a 70, and I would really like something in between. And I know they're not expensive, but if I could, I don't need a lot. I got a lot of what I need, and I think the one piece I'm kind of in that position where the 35 isn't heavy enough, and the 70 is good for swings, but not really for my one arm, and I'm not strong enough to do that 70-pounder with one arm yet. I'm working on it, but I need something in between.
This is probably the most practical
it's kind of a cheap answer. As soon as I said it, I'm like, man, maybe I should have said something like a rower or something like that.
Well, other people have been like rower or reverse hyper or like just crazy stuff like that.
But what happens after you get all that? You just got to go for the most practical. And I
guess kettlebell you can use every day.
The thing with kettlebells too is like kettlebell is great, just like a barbell. You can use it for strength, conditioning, cardio, work capacity. It's just you can be creative with the kettlebells, and although I'm not the best with them yet, it's something that I've been for the last couple of years trying to figure out more and more.
Awesome, man. All right, so a lot of garage gym athletes listening to this. What would be your best advice for garage gym athletes out there?
Start slow. Don't go all out. When you look at like what equipment you need and how you want to set it up, look around the community, find those deals because they're out there. Don't automatically go to the biggest chain store and buy the most expensive piece of equipment. If you want to, that's great. But I always advise people just look around in the community first to see what's available and then go from there. The other thing, and it's kind of a weird statement, mats, those big rubber mats. Mm-hmm. Go to a farm store and buy the horse mats. They're a quarter of the price of gym mats. They're basically the same thing. They stink at first. You just gotta kind of leave them outside because they're not treated.
Yeah.
But they're designed for horse stalls, but I use those. I put those under my racks, and my weights, and they're fantastic. Two things: look around the community, find a deal for the equipment that you need. But even if you're buying stuff, look for a cheaper way to do it. And for me, those were those mats, like needed mats, and those horse mats were perfect. Like I said, it was like a quarter of the price than I would have paid for a regular gym mat, and they do the same thing.
Yeah, man, I got some horse stall mats in my now basement gym, and I've had them. I had them in my last gym as well. I love them. They're great.
Yeah, I mean, when you first get them, they have a strong rubber smell, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But you just kind of let them air out, and it goes away.
All right, Steve, it's been a blast talking to you, man. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast.
Oh, thank you guys. I enjoyed it, and good luck in everything you're doing, and I'm glad to be a part of it.